Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Podcast. I'm Emma.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. Today we have a very special episode for beginners.
Yes, today we will talk about a common problem many English learners have, translating in your head.
Exactly. Many learners think in their first language and then try to translate into English. This makes speaking slow and hard.
But today, we will show you how to stop translating and start thinking in English. And don't worry, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes, mistakes are good. They help you learn faster. So, grab a notebook and pen, and let's get started.
You know, whether you're learning English to navigate some high-stakes meeting at a new job, or maybe you're planning a massive trip abroad,
Or you just love mastering a new skill.
Right, exactly. Whatever your reason is, if you're a beginner, you have almost certainly slammed headfirst into this very specific, honestly, incredibly frustrating wall.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah. It's that heavy, agonizing pause in the middle of a conversation, the translation lag.
Yes, the universal bottleneck for language learners.
Right, like someone asks you a question in English, and instead of just answering naturally, your brain frantically scurries away to do like a mountain of behind-the-scenes paperwork.
It's that internal buffering symbol, right? Just spinning relentlessly in your mind while the person standing across from you is just waiting for a response.
It's so awkward.
It really is. And the delay isn't even because you don't know the vocabulary. It's because your brain is running the information through an incredibly inefficient operating system.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are going to completely dismantle that wall. We're unpacking a highly targeted guide designed specifically to help you, the English learner, bypass that internal buffering, stop translating in your head, and really build a direct high-speed line between your brain and your English voice.
That's the ultimate goal.
Because the way I see it, relying on translation is basically like, well, hiring a mental middleman for every single thought you have.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Imagine you run a business, and every time you want to speak to a customer, you have to whisper your thought to a middleman, wait for them to write it down, translate it into another language, and then, read it aloud to the customer.
It's exhausting.
It costs a massive amount of time, and the message usually gets distorted along the way regardless.
That mental middleman is the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And before we can permanently fire him, we kind of have to understand the mechanics of why relying on your first language is so detrimental to speaking fluency.
Okay, lay it on us.
So when you mentally construct a complex sentence in your native language and then attempt to swap out the words for English ones, like, I don't know, doing a find and replace on a Word document,
Right.
you aren't just slowing yourself down. You are actively inviting structural chaos. English word order, like the actual syntax of the language, often operates on a completely different logic than your native tongue.
Yeah, the material we're looking at highlights a really classic consequence of this. If you attempt a direct word-for-word translation from certain languages into English, you don't get a coherent sentence. You end up saying something like, I pizza eat.
Exactly. Instead of the grammatically correct, I eat pizza.
Right, I pizza eat just sounds wrong.
It does, and it perfectly illustrates this concept linguists call negative transfer, or L1 interference.
L1 being your first language.
Exactly. Your first language has this massive gravitational pull. It is so deeply ingrained in your neural pathways that its gravity literally pulls the English words out of their proper sequence. Yeah, you're trying to force English puzzle pieces into a structural frame built for an entirely different puzzle. So it's not a vocabulary deficit where you just forgot the word for pizza.
Right, it's a structural collision in your brain.
Precisely.
But, okay, let me push back on this a little bit because there is a practical reality we have to address here.
So
if you're listening to this, you might already have a vocabulary of a few thousand words, or you might be a total beginner. And if you are just starting out, don't you have to use that mental middleman?
How do you mean?
Well, how can you possibly think in a language when you barely possess the vocabulary to form a complete thought? Don't you need the translation just to know what the words mean?
See, that assumption right there is exactly the cognitive trap that keeps people stuck in the translation loop for years.
Wait, really?
Yeah, we have to completely redefine what thinking means in this context. You do not need to think in complex, nuanced paragraphs. You don't need to have deep philosophical internal monologues in English. You bypass the translation middleman by intentionally stripping the language down to its absolute bare minimum. You have to literally starve that native syntax engine.
So instead of trying to be an architect building a skyscraper, we're dropping back down to playing with basic Lego bricks.
That's exactly it. The framework emphasizes a complete cognitive reset. You start small by using incredibly short phrases or chunks instead of trying to formulate full sentences.
Chunk, okay.
Yeah, you isolate the most basic blocks. I am hungry, I like coffee, I go home. You take 2 or 3 words, usually just a subject and a verb, you snap them together.
It feels almost overly simplistic, but the psychological mechanism makes sense. You take a subject and a verb and you snap them together. Boom, sturdy.
Sturdy is the key word. And the rule is you only add more pieces when you feel completely unthinkingly confident with that base structure.
Oh, I see.
So I am hungry eventually expands to I am hungry because I did not eat breakfast.
Yeah.
But you absolutely do not jump to that longer version until the short version requires like 0 mental effort.
And how do you get to 0 mental effort? Just repetition.
Repetition, yes, but specifically, the most effective way is to embed those chunks into your daily routines.
Oh, okay.
This moves the vocabulary from your declarative memory, where you have to actively think about a fact,
Right.
into your procedural memory, which is automatic. So the recommendation is to silently narrate your life using these chunks. Take your morning routine, for example.
Okay, so I'm waking up.
Right. As you're physically performing the actions, you think the English chunks. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I eat breakfast.
Oh, wow. Which means you can seamlessly apply this to an office routine, too.
Absolutely.
You walk into your building and mentally narrate, I open my computer, I check emails, I drink coffee. You're essentially becoming the color commentator for your own everyday life.
I love that. Yes, exactly.
But the crucial detail is that the soundtrack is entirely in beginner-level English.
And that color commentary is doing some really heavy lifting neurologically. You're entirely bypassing the translation phase because the trigger for the English word is no longer a thought in your native language.
Wait, what is the trigger then?
The physical action you are performing.
Oh.
When the physical act of opening your laptop is instantaneously followed by the thought, I open my computer, the mental middleman is unemployed.
Yeah.
You're creating a direct neural link between the physical world and the English language.
Okay, that makes so much sense. But, routines are predictable. My house and my desk are pretty static environments.
Sure.
Real life is chaotic and constantly changing. How do you trigger these Lego blocks of thought throughout the rest of your day without reverting to the safety net of your native language?
You have to hack your physical environment to force that direct association.
Hack it how?
Well, one tangible exercise the material provides is using pictures. Instead of looking at a photograph, analyzing it in your native language, and then translating that analysis, you look at the image and describe it directly using English chunks.
Like, the sun is shining.
Exactly. Children are playing, birds are flying.
And they take it a significant step further with labeling your actual home, which I find fascinating from a behavioral standpoint.
Oh, the sticky notes.
Yes. We are talking about physically putting sticky notes on your furniture. You write door on a sticker and stick it on your door. You write fridge on your refrigerator.
Right. And to understand why that simple sticker is so powerful, we need to look at how the brain actually stores information.
Okay.
When you learn a word from a vocabulary list, it goes into semantic memory. That's abstract, it's context-free.
Like studying for a test.
Exactly. But when you place a physical sticky note on your refrigerator, you're shifting that vocabulary into your episodic and spatial memory. Every time you walk into your kitchen, your brain registers the 3D space, the physical object, and the English word fridge simultaneously.
Wow. So you're training your brain to connect the object directly to the vocabulary, skipping the translation step entirely.
Exactly. The environment itself becomes the flashcard.
That's brilliant. And this makes perfect sense for a controlled environment like a kitchen. But the framework suggests taking this habit out into the wild with what they call the walking exercise.
Yes, the walking exercise.
You narrate the world as you move through it. I see a car. The car is red. People are walking. Now, I have to point out the obvious here.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Walking down a busy street muttering, I see a red car, over and over is a great way to get some very strange looks from strangers.
It definitely is. Which is why the material clarifies that you don't actually need to speak it aloud in public.
Okay, phew.
Yeah, the walking exercise is deeply effective even when performed silently in your head.
Yeah.
The goal is just to build the mental habit of observation in English.
Got it.
By tying the vocabulary to your physical movement through space, you're actually bypassing the brain's traditional language center filters.
Okay.
But, if you do want to speak aloud to practice the physical pronunciation, you can just do it in the privacy of your own home.
Right.
As you prepare a meal, just say, I take a cup, I pour water, I drink water.
Okay, so we've established how to build these vocabulary blocks, and we've discussed how to hack our environment, using spatial memory and physical movement to trigger them automatically. But let's be honest, real conversation isn't just pointing at a refrigerator or silently observing a red car.
True.
Conversation requires rhythm. It requires reacting to a barista or a colleague who's firing information at you at 100 miles an hour. That is a completely different cognitive skill.
It is an entirely different skill, and it requires shifting from a static environment to an active input-output.
Input-output loop.
Yeah. To handle the pace of real conversation, the material offers two highly active techniques to practice the physical flow of English. The first one is remarkably simple, though it might feel a bit unnatural at first.
Which is?
Talking to yourself.
Well, we're already putting sticky notes on our furniture and mentally narrating our walks, so we might as well fully embrace the eccentricity.
Hey, whatever works, right. The exercise involves asking yourself simple questions out loud and then immediately answering them.
Give me an example.
Like, what do I want to eat? I want bread. I want water. I'm hungry.
Okay.
By forcing yourself to play the role of both the interviewer and the interviewee, you're requiring your brain to process an auditory cue in English and generate an immediate spoken English response.
So you're simulating the rhythm of a real back-and-forth conversation, but in a completely low-stakes, stress-free environment.
Exactly. You control the pace.
It's essentially shadowboxing before you step into the actual ring.
That's a great analogy.
Which provides the perfect transition into the second heavily emphasized technique, shadowing.
Yes. Shadowing is huge.
Right, so this involves listening to English music, podcasts, or videos with subtitles and immediately repeating what you hear out loud, almost overlapping with the speaker.
And the absolute non-negotiable rule of shadowing is that you must not translate while you're doing it.
No translation at all.
None. Your goal is not to pause the video, pull out a dictionary, and decode the grammatical structure of the sentence. Your goal is to be a human echo.
A human echo.
You're mirroring the rhythm, the intonation, and the exact sounds as the native speaker delivers them.
I look at shadowing the same way a musician learns to play a song by ear.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like when a guitarist sits down to learn a complex solo by listening to a record, they aren't analyzing the sheet music, they aren't breaking down the complex music theory or translating the notes into a mathematical formula in their head.
Right.
They're simply trying to physically mimic the melody, the bends, and the beat until it becomes pure muscle memory in their fingers.
That's exactly it.
Shadowing does that exact same thing, but the instrument is your mouth, your tongue, and your vocal cords.
That analogy hits on the exact neuroscience of why shadowing is so effective.
Really?
Yeah. When you try to analyze a language, you're using the brain's executive function. That's the part of the brain that acts like a strict grammar cop, constantly checking rules and looking for errors.
Oh, the grammar cop is the worst.
It is. But shadowing moves so quickly that it actually forces that executive function to shut down temporarily. You literally don't have time to analyze.
You just have to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you have to rely purely on motor neuron mimicry. You're tricking your brain into producing native-level fluency by riding the wave of the rhythm, completely bypassing the analytical middleman.
Which raises a really compelling question.
Okay.
If these techniques are so profoundly effective, if stripping language down to Lego chunks, leveraging spatial memory with sticky notes, and shutting down our executive function through shadowing actually works, why do so many learners fail to adopt them?
It's a fair question.
I mean, we all know people who have studied English for a decade and still freeze up when a tourist asks them for directions.
Right. Well, the framework identifies several major mental roadblocks that learners have to deliberately overcome to make these habits stick. And the most counterintuitive roadblock they point out is an over-reliance on textbooks.
Wait, really? Let's dig into that because it sounds almost paradoxical.
Yeah.
Aren't textbooks the ultimate safety net for a beginner?
Well,
They provide the structural rules, the curated vocabulary list, the clear progression. Why would a textbook be a trap?
Okay, so textbooks are brilliant for establishing foundational knowledge, right? But they inherently keep you in a passive, analytical mode of
That's a
learning.
cut. Okay.
When you study a textbook, you're relying heavily on visual memory and analytical decoding.
Yeah,
You're studying English the way you would study, like, a geometry problem.
that makes sense.
But speaking a language requires spontaneous auditory processing and active motor skill execution. Real-life English doesn't look like a fill-in-the-blank exercise.
No, it definitely doesn't.
To truly think in English, you need active, real-time engagement. So the material strongly suggests stepping away from the textbook and doing something grounded in reality, like writing a simple daily diary using only those foundational English chunks.
Because life does not happen in a multiple choice format.
Exactly.
You can't pause a conversation to consult chapter 4. You have to be able to react spontaneously.
And to build that spontaneous reaction time, you need consistency over volume. This is another massive mindset shift required by the framework.
Consistency over volume.
Yeah, the neuroscience of habit building tells us that practicing these active techniques for just 10 minutes every single day will rewire your brain far faster than sitting down for an exhausting 3-hour study binge once a week.
It's the daily repeated exposure that builds the neural pathways.
Exactly.
It's exactly like watering a plant. You cannot dump a massive bucket of water on a houseplant once a month and expect it to thrive. You'll just drown it.
Right, you'll kill it.
It needs a small, manageable amount every single day.
That daily maintenance is key. The recommendation is to set incredibly small, highly achievable daily goals.
Like what?
Instead of waking up and saying, I'm going to master the past perfect tense today, your goal should simply be, today, I will describe my morning commute in English chunks.
Oh, that's so much less intimidating.
Or, today, I will record myself speaking for 2 minutes.
Recording yourself is such a brilliant, underutilized tool. You can listen back, catch your own structural errors, and slowly correct yourself without the immense social pressure of needing to be flawless in front of another human being.
Which brings us to the final and arguably the most difficult mindset shift required to make this work. Embracing the stumble.
Embracing the stumble.
The fear of making mistakes is the #1 psychological barrier that keeps learners trapped in the translation cycle. They want their English output to sound as sophisticated, intelligent, and flawless as their native language thoughts.
Sure, nobody wants to sound foolish.
Right, so they rely on that mental middleman to carefully curate and double-check every single word before they speak.
But the middleman is slow, and the conversation moves on without you.
Exactly. The framework is explicit about this. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They are the mechanism of learning. The more mistakes you make, the faster your brain adapts.
Wow.
When you force yourself to bypass translation and speak directly in English, you are going to stumble. You're going to use the wrong verb tense. You're going to sound like a beginner.
And that's okay.
That is exactly what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It is neurological proof that you are actually thinking in the language rather than just decoding it from a script.
All right, let's pull all of these threads together and summarize the core actionable takeaways for you today. If you want to stop freezing up in conversation and start communicating with real flow, you have to fire the mental middleman.
Fire him.
Stop trying to translate your complex, nuanced native thoughts. Instead, deliberately starve your native syntax engine. Start tiny. Build small Lego chunks of vocabulary. Hack your spatial memory by putting sticky notes on your fridge and your doors.
Yep, the environment is the flashcard.
Walk around your house and narrate your physical actions to yourself. Shut down your inner grammar cop by shadowing native speakers, echoing their rhythm like a musician learning a song by ear. And most importantly, step away from the textbook and embrace 10 minutes of messy, mistake-filled practice every single day.
The ultimate takeaway here is that English is not just an academic subject to be decoded. It's a physical and mental habit to be lived.
Well said.
By integrating these chunks into your daily walking, eating, and working routines, you are quite literally rewiring how your brain processes the physical world around you. You're building a new operating system.
And that leaves us with a truly fascinating concept to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. Think about the implications of this for a moment.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If you successfully bypass that translation phase, if you start directly associating your daily actions, your morning coffee, your commute, your frustrations, and your joys straight into English words without running them through your native language first over time, might you actually develop a slightly different personality when you speak English? Right. If you completely remove the cultural and emotional filter of your native language, could this new, direct, fast-paced neural pathway change not just how you speak, but who you are when you speak it?
That's deep.
It is definitely something to think about the next time you look at that sticky note on your fridge.